Hi everyone, today we're going to be planting our peanuts and sweet potatoes. So we're starting with the peanuts, and here's the variety that we're growing. It's called Tennessee Red. We grew this variety last year and we really liked it, and we saved some of the peanuts. And if you buy your packet of seeds, they might also come like this with the peanuts in the shell. So the first step is just to take all of these peanuts out of their shells. So you're just going to gently crack them just as if you were eating them. You want to make sure not to crush the peanuts inside because that's the seed that's going to grow. So just do this as carefully as possible. Peanuts are a very long season crop that like a lot of heat, so we've waited a little longer until our temperatures have really warmed up to plant this. And most varieties will take over 100 days to grow. So for us in our very warm, hot climate, this is a very good crop for us to grow throughout the summer. Each pod usually ranges from having 2 to 4 peanuts, so if you do end up growing this yourself, it's very easy to just save a few of those peanuts in the shell to propagate your crop for the next year so that you don't have to buy seed again. Here are what our finished shelled peanuts look like. They're very beautiful. I love that red color of them. And here is the first spot we're going to be planting them. We have part of this raised bed. It's a 3x8 raised bed, and we have probably like a 3x3 foot section for them. And we're just gonna start spacing some holes for these peanuts. We have a drip line down here that has emitters every 6 inches, and we want to try and plant these every 6 to 8 inches, which is perfect. So we're just going to put a hole anywhere that there is an emitter in our drip line. That just makes spacing really easy for us, and we can also make sure that each plant gets watered directly at the root when we turn our drip system on. Since the peanuts are fairly large seeds, we're going to plant them at least an inch down. So we'll just nestle them in these little holes. Peanuts are a legume, and that means that they can fix nitrogen from the air and they don't need extra fertilizer in the soil. So we didn't amend this bed with any compost beforehand. Last year we planted our peanuts in a raised bed that had very average soil. We hadn't amended it beforehand. It was also a little more on the compacted side, which I've read online that you don't want to plant peanuts in because the way that they grow is that they form a flower above ground. Then from that flower they have little shoots that dig underground, and that's how the peanut grows. For us, we had pretty good luck even in compacted soil, so I would say to just go for it even if your soil isn't super great. They don't need a lot of fertilizer, and we had really good success last year in average soil, so definitely give it a go. They also had no problem at all in the hottest parts of summer when a lot of our other plants were suffering. The peanuts were just trucking right along. They didn't mind the heat and even slight periods of drought as well. Last year we harvested maybe about 1.5 quarts of peanuts from a packet of seeds, and we boiled those in salt water, and they were the best peanuts we've ever had. And even though peanuts aren't a super high yielding crop for the space, they're really fun to grow, so I think it's something that will grow every year just for the novelty. We had some extra seeds after we planted up that portion of our raised bed, so we decided to go to the back of our garden where we have our in-ground beds. We've gone through this bed with a hoe just to cut off any weeds off from their root systems, and we haven't had rain in a while, so this bed is pretty dry, so we're just going to wet it down with the hose just to break up that soil a little bit and make it a little easier to work with. So we're going to do basically the same thing that we did in our raised bed. We don't have to amend this with compost, and then we're going to go in and make some holes, probably closer to 8 to 10 inches back here just because we have a little more space. And this is going to be just like a fun little experiment for us. We're going to see if there's any difference between growing in a raised bed where the soil is really nice and fluffy versus growing in this compacted in-ground bed that doesn't get as much care and water. I think it'll be really interesting to see the results, and if we do find out that they grow just as well in this in-ground bed, that's a really useful thing to know because garden space in the raised bed is always at a premium, and we have to be very choosy about what we plant there. But if we know that these plants are able to take care of themselves without much maintenance from us, then it's a great thing for us to be able to plant back here in larger spaces in future years. So stay tuned till the end of the season where we will update you on the results of this experiment. Next, we're going to be planting our sweet potatoes with the sweet potato slips that we started ourselves. I went over how to do this from just like normal grocery store potatoes in another video, so if you want to how to do that on your own, you can go watch that one. You can also sometimes buy these at a good nursery or maybe online, but I think it's easier just to grow them yourself and have them fresh, and you get so many out of just a few potatoes. You can see how the root systems are really good right now. These have been in the water for a few weeks to a month by now, so they've been growing for a long time and getting a good head start. First, we're going to start in the other half of that bed that we planted the peanuts in. We're taking down this monstrous rutabaga that we've been letting go to seed, and I just don't even have words for how big it got. It's pretty impressive. So for these sweet potatoes, they are not like peanuts in that they can fix their own nitrogen, so we're going to make sure that we amend their part of the bed with compost. We're using our favorite leaf compost here, which has done really well in our garden. And we're just going to spread out about an inch or two of that onto this part of the bed. Next, we're going to lay out our sweet potato slips. We're gonna try and plant them about 10 to 12 inches away. Sweet potato plants create very long vines and they will kind of go everywhere. You want to give them as much space as you can, and as you've probably noticed if you've grown your own slips, the sweet potatoes will really form roots along any part of the stem that comes in contact with the soil. So as it vines, it's going to create contact and create even more roots. So by the end of the season, this is going to be a whole mess of sweet potato leaves and hopefully sweet potatoes underground. A sweet potato is actually an enlargement of the sweet potato root. So like the peanuts, you do sort of want a looser soil. Last year we planted our sweet potatoes in more compacted soil and we didn't have very good luck with that. So we're going to be doing an experiment with the sweet potatoes as well as the peanuts, where we're planting half of our sweet potatoes in this in-ground bed that it has more poor compacted soil, and we saved a few slips to also plant in a raised bed as well. So we'll see how they compare at the end of the year. For these sweet potato slips, we're planting them fairly deep. Like I mentioned, they're going to form roots along the stem anyways, so you don't really need to worry that you're planting them too deeply. These are also another very long season crop, another crop that takes over 100 days, and if you don't have very hot weather, this might not be a good crop for you to try, but if you do have hot weather, then you'll probably have good luck with this because sweet potatoes do tend to like warmer climates. Alright, so here's what they look like all finished planting in this bed. We were able to fit 10 slips in this bed here. And then we're going to move on to another raised bed. So we have another 3x8 raised bed here, and we have a larger portion of this bed to use, and we're just going to fill in around the plants that are already there. So we're going to space our holes 12 inches away here, so we can just plant one every other emitter hole in our drip line to space those out. We had also amended this bed with compost in the beginning of the season. And again, just plop them into the hole. You can see that the soil here is much looser, so I think the sweet potatoes are really going to like this. That's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this process and seeing how these plants do throughout the season. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again in the next video.